to my next point about the Ukraine war, because the Ukraine war has also, in some ways, one key point that has emerged from the Ukraine war is don't underestimate the United States of America. And I will now talk about this part 4 about the Ukraine war. But I want to begin by emphasizing one important fact. Today, the date is 16th of March, right? About 3-4 weeks ago, let's say on 23rd February, one day before the Russian invasion, let's say we are having a discussion between the Golkar Institute and me. And if on 23rd February you had asked me, or you had asked any expert, will Russia launch a full-scale invasion of Ukraine? And the experts, including me, would say, no, 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 no. Russia will not mount a full-scale invasion. That's too risky. Russia may take some more territory in Crimea, may take some more territory in eastern Ukraine, but it will not mount a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And to everybody's surprise, that's exactly what Russia and Putin did. That was the first surprise. The second surprise was this. After the invasion started, if you had asked me who would win, I say, of course Russia would win. Of course Putin would win. Russia is so much more powerful. Ukraine is a very weak country. Russians got so many tanks. Russian tanks would just march straight into Kiev and the war would be over in 2-3 days. But as you know, it is now 3 to 4 weeks and the war is not over. In fact, the Russian army is bogged down. It's quite surprising how well the Ukrainians are fighting. As again, a big surprise, right? And then thirdly, if you had asked me, would the Europeans, unite very strongly and launch a coordinated economic assault on Russia, I would say no. The Europeans are very divided. They wouldn't agree to anything. And to my absolute surprise, Europe and the United States have come together in a very strong way and actually mounted a very effective economic sanction regime on Russia, which has been very, very painful. And as you know, the Russian economy has gone down dramatically, the ruble has collapsed, and it shows you the power of the West. And let me mention that this re-galvanization of Western solidarity, which is a surprise in many ways, is a setback for China also. Because China, as part of its strategy to manage American pressure on China, was trying to deal with the United States separately from Europe. And they were telling Europe, oh, we are separate. You are separate. Even if we have a contest with the United States, we will still have good relations with Europe. But now, with the re-galvanization of Western solidarity, it is actually a setback for China. So you can see this is a surprising development that China has to deal with now. So as a result of all this, I'm sure the Chinese who had worked out a strategy of how to manage the United States before the Ukraine war now have to change and reconsider what are the things that the United States can do to really damage China. And I'll give you 2 examples. I think 2 of the most powerful sanctions that the United States has deployed against Russia. Number 1, it has frozen half of the reserves of the Central Bank of Russia. Now, this is very surprising, you know. The Central Bank of Russia is a sovereign entity. In theory, Western countries cannot take away the money of another sovereign entity. But they have done so. Now, Russia only has $630 billion. China has $3.2 trillion, 5 times as much. Can you imagine what would China do if United States and Europe froze half the reserves of China? That is $1.6 trillion. That's a lot of money, huh? $1.6 trillion, right? Maybe I think the bigger than the size of the economy of Indonesia, but I may be wrong. So can you imagine? So that's another big setback for China. And then, of course, the West has also cut off technological supplies to Russia. So Russian aircraft, Russia has bought lots of Boeing aircraft, Airbus aircraft. Now no spare parts. That's a big problem because Russia is a big country, even bigger than Indonesia. So can you imagine in Indonesia, you don't have planes. How do you go from one part of Indonesia to another part of Indonesia? Very difficult. This is where Singapore, luckily, is very small. You don't need a plane to fly from the east coast of Singapore to the west coast of Singapore. You can drive. But Indonesia is a big country, and Russia is a big country. So sanctions like that can be very damaging. So you can see, therefore, that the Ukraine war has suddenly raised major questions and changed the strategic equations. But it is too early to tell what will be the long-term effect because the war is still carrying on. And we don't know what the outcome is still going to be 3 to 4 weeks from now. Either Russia will win completely and conquer Ukraine and President Zelensky leaves Ukraine. President Zelensky, by the way, has emerged as a real hero. We can discuss that too. Or Russia will fail. And this is something you will find out in 3 to 4 weeks or 3 to 4 months' time. We have to wait and see. But there's no question whatsoever that the Ukraine episode has changed the global geopolitical equation, and therefore we have to watch it very, very carefully.